Good morning, you're watching A News. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the top stories. US President Donald Trump arrives in the UK for a second state visit. According to the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, the EU will propose faster phase-out of Russian energy. The Israeli military says more forces are to join the ground assault in Gaza City. US President Donald Trump's state visit to Britain will feature a royal welcome at Windsor Castle with a gun salute today. A multi-billion-dollar US-UK technology pact worth more than $40 billion has already been unveiled.
Landing at London's Stansted Airport in Essex Tuesday night, US President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania were greeted by Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper and Viscount Henry Hood on behalf of King Charles. It's Trump's second state visit to the UK, and they were both flown by helicopter to Winfield House, the US ambassador's residence. Trump said the main purpose of his visit is to strengthen personal and political ties with Britain. Wednesday will be a full day of royal pageantry and political talks at Windsor Castle, where he'll be welcomed with a gun salute, military inspection and a ceremonial carriage procession. He'll be joined by senior royals, including Prince William and Princess Catherine. Already the two nations have announced a tech prosperity deal, a sweeping technology pact covering artificial intelligence, quantum computing and civil nuclear energy. US tech giants, led by Microsoft, pledged $42 billion in new UK investments. Britain said the agreement will support economic growth, scientific research and energy security across both countries. Under the announced deals, chipmaker Nvidia will deploy 120,000 graphics processors across Britain, its largest European rollout, including 60,000 Grace Blackwell Ultra chips with UK-based N-Scale. The partnership with Microsoft and OpenAI's Stargate project will help build the UK's largest AI supercomputer in Loughton, northeast London. Prime Minister Keir Starmer hailed the pact as a chance to shape the future for millions of people, while positioning the UK as a hub for US-style light touch regulation in emerging technologies. The visit is a renewal of a special relationship that Starmer is keen to champion.
EU and NATO countries have got to stop buying Russian oil immediately, US President Donald Trump said before departing for his UK state visit. Trump added that Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky will have to make a deal and that Ukraine is in serious trouble. Speaking on his unprecedented second state visit to the UK, Trump hinted at talks on trade, saying London wants to refine the already reached trade deal and that he is inclined to help him. The European Commission will propose accelerating the phase-out of Russian fossil fuel imports. President Ursula von der Leyen made the announcement on Tuesday after a call with US President Donald Trump on boosting pressure against Moscow. The EU had planned to end purchases of Russian oil and gas by 2028, but Washington is urging swifter action. Trump has called on Europe to impose tariffs on India and China, the biggest buyers of Russian oil. Von der Leyen said both sides would step up coordination to increase the economic cost of Russia's war in Ukraine. And now to the Middle East. Israeli military says more forces will join the ground assault in Gaza City in the coming days, saying the aim is to defeat Hamas and free hostages. Gaza health officials report at least 70 people were killed on Tuesday as airstrikes and tanks pounded the city.
Footage released by the Israeli army on Tuesday is said to show military vehicles advancing through Gaza City as Israel launched a long-threatened ground operation to take control over the Strip's main city. The army declared Gaza is burning as Palestinians described the most intense bombardment they had faced in 2 years of war. Defense Minister Israel Katz wrote on X that soldiers were fighting bravely to create the conditions for the release of the hostages and the defeat of Hamas.
Tonight, in accordance with the directive of the political leadership, we launched the next stage of the major operation. The objective of the operation is the return of the hostages and the defeat of Hamas in Gaza City. Israeli Defense Forces began tonight an assault towards the core of Gaza City. At present, 3 divisions are operating in Gaza City: Division 98, Division 162, and in the coming days, Division 36 will also join the campaign.
An Israel Defense Forces official said ground troops were moving deeper into Gaza City, with up to 3,000 Hamas fighters expected to be confronted in the days ahead.
We are concentrating offensive efforts in Gaza City, which will continue as long as necessary according to a structured and evolving plan, until the war objectives are achieved.
Defrin said Israeli airstrikes had already struck dozens of high-rise buildings used by Hamas for surveillance and attacks. He added that more than 350,000 residents had fled Gaza City and that humanitarian aid would continue to flow north, in line with international law, stressing there would be no situation of starvation in the Gaza Strip. On Tuesday, Gaza's health ministry reported at least 75 Palestinians were killed, most of them in Gaza City. Witnesses describe bodies trapped under rubble after overnight strikes destroyed 2 multi-story buildings. The offensive comes despite warnings from European governments of possible sanctions and unease within parts of Israel's own security establishment. US President Donald Trump says he backs the operation, warning Hamas would have hell to pay if it used hostages as human shields. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Trump has invited him to Washington in 2 weeks, after both leaders' speeches at the United Nations General Assembly at the end of the month.
On Tuesday, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres described the situation in Gaza as horrendous, calling the war in the Palestinian enclave morally, politically and legally intolerable. He added that he's ready to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Donald Trump at the UN next week.
What happens in Gaza today is horrendous. We are seeing massive destruction of neighborhoods, now the systematic destruction of Gaza City. We are seeing massive killing of civilians in a way that I do not remember in any conflict since I am Secretary General. And we are seeing dramatic obstacles to the distribution of humanitarian aid. At a certain moment, it completely stopped.
A new report by a UN Commission of Inquiry says Israel has committed genocide against Palestinians in Gaza. It cites statements by Israeli leaders and the pattern of conduct by Israeli forces as evidence of genocidal intent. Israel's foreign ministry said it categorically rejects the report, denouncing it as distorted and false.
A United Nations Commission of Inquiry has concluded that Israel has committed genocide in Gaza. The report also states that top Israeli leaders, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, incited these acts. Israel has strongly rejected the findings, calling them false and biased. The 72-page report highlights mass killings, aid blockages, forced displacement, and the destruction of a fertility clinic. These examples support the Commission's genocide finding.
All states are obligated to use whatever means within its power to prevent the commission of genocide. And so we urge member states to ensure accountability for any crimes that have been committed and prevent further crimes from being committed, not just in Gaza, but the entire occupied Palestinian territory.
While the UN itself has not officially used the term genocide, pressure is growing for it to do so. The Commission, though independent, adds its voice to others, including human rights groups, who have reached similar conclusions. Israel's ambassador to the UN, Daniel Meron, dismissed the report as a scandalous. He claimed it used misleading statistics, weak data. Israel also accused the Commission of not mentioning the word Hamas in report.
The report relies entirely on Hamas falsehoods, laundered and repeated by others. These fabrications have already been thoroughly debunked, including in an independent, in-depth academic study by BESA.
Meanwhile, the European Commission announced it will propose new sanctions on Israel. These include suspending certain trade agreements. The measures are expected to be confirmed on Wednesday.
Utah prosecutors vow to seek the death penalty for the accused assassin of conservative activist Charlie Kirk. They also revealed new details of the case, including text messages in which Tyler Robinson was alleged to have privately confessed to the fatal shooting.
The suspect in the killing of conservative activist Charlie Kirk made an initial court appearance on Tuesday afternoon via video feed from jail. Tyler Robinson, who is 22, appeared unshaven and wearing what appeared to be a protective vest. He remained expressionless but appeared to be listening attentively as the judge went through the charges. He spoke only once when asked to state his name. Robinson is accused of firing the single rifle shot from a rooftop sniper's nest that pierced Kirk's neck last Wednesday on the campus of Utah Valley University in Orem, about 40 miles south of Salt Lake City. The charging document says Robinson intentionally targeted Kirk because of Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Utah prosecutors said they will seek the death penalty for the suspect in conservative activist Charlie Kirk's assassination and revealed some of the evidence against him, including alleged text messages in which he appeared to confess to the crime, allegedly saying he shot Kirk because he had had enough of his hatred.
I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime. Because we are seeking the death penalty, the defendant will continue to be held without bail in the Utah County Jail.
Finding Robinson unable to afford legal counsel, Utah 4th District Judge Tony Graff said he would appoint a defense attorney before the next court hearing, set for the 29th of September.
Afghanistan is facing what the United Nations calls a triple crisis: a surge of returnees, worsening climate disasters, and deep cuts to foreign aid. Aid groups warn they're being forced to make difficult choices on where to prioritise aid, leaving millions without support. Our correspondent Tamim Bahis has more from Kabul.
At the border crossings with Iran and Pakistan, thousands of Afghans are arriving home each day. This year alone, nearly 2 million people have returned, many forcibly expelled under new crackdowns in both countries. Some come back voluntarily, but for others, documents are confiscated, livelihoods are gone, and they arrive destitute. The International Organization for Migration told Euronews that it once had the resources to help nearly everyone. Now, after sweeping aid cuts, only 20 to 30% of returnees get immediate support. The shortfall comes as Afghanistan reels from deadly earthquakes that killed more than 2,200 people, compounding urgent needs. The US alone has stripped away $1.7 billion in aid this year, forcing thousands of international agencies to scale back or shut down. The UN warns the cuts could be a death sentence for millions. Women face the steepest barriers. Many return educated from Iran only to find jobs and school off limits under Taliban restrictions. And just last week, the UN Refugee Agency suspended aid to returnees after female Afghan staff were barred from entering UN compounds. Despite the setbacks, IOM insists it will keep working in Afghanistan, but admits tough choices lie ahead. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for A News.
US President Donald Trump posted a photo on his Truth Social account showing his 8th of August meeting in Washington with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev and Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan. Trump described the meeting as an honor, saying it allowed him to help resolve the conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia while building friendships with both leaders. He added that the ties forged would be an enduring friendship for the United States. The The Washington summit saw the signing of a 7-point joint declaration, including the agreement on the Zangezur corridor, dubbed the Trump route, to improve regional communications.
For this historic event.
Armenia's central bank says the Trump route for international peace and prosperity is positively perceived by markets. Governor Martin Galstyan noted that the first US tranche of $145 million in assistance to develop it is too small to impact the economy immediately, but stressed the project's long-term potential. The connectivity plan is designed to unlock trade routes, attract investment and improve the business climate. Azerbaijan and the United Arab Emirates have signed a declaration on comprehensive strategic cooperation. The two presidents, Ilham Aliyev and Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, highlighted growing collaboration in energy, trade, transport and renewables.
Relations of Azerbaijan and United Arab Emirates are built on a foundation of brotherhood and friendship, and they are developing very successfully. President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, said this in an expanded meeting with President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan.
Biz her zaman beynəlxalq təşkilatlarda birbirimizin yanındayıq, birbirimizi dəstəkləyirik.
We always stand by each other in international organizations. We support each other. We are very pleased with the recent mutual investments. Cooperation in the oil and gas sector is deepening.
Bugün imzalanmış sənədlər arasında nəqliyyat sektorundakı əməkdaşlıq böyük perspektivə malikdir.
Among the documents signed today, cooperation in the transport sector has great prospects. We are particularly grateful to your country and your country's companies for providing us with great support in the development of renewable energy in Azerbaijan.
Bizə çox böyük dəstək vermişdilər. Birləşmiş Ərəb Əmirliklərinin şirkətləri burada bizim strateji tərəfdaşlarımızdır.
The companies of the United Arab Emirates are our strategic partners here, the main investors, and the construction and investment in the first solar power plant commissioned in Azerbaijan were made possible thanks to your country's support for us.
Bizə olan dəstəyi nəticəsində mümkün olmuşdur.
President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, marked that trade turnover between UAE and Azerbaijan, especially in the non-oil sector, increased to $2.24 billion in 2024.
In July, our countries signed an agreement on comprehensive economic cooperation. This document has given a new impetus to our economic relations. Inshallah, it will have a great impact on achieving our common economic goals. We in the United Arab Emirates are interested in continuing to expand this cooperation, particularly in development, the economy, renewable energy, food security, culture, and other important areas, as these sectors promise great results for our future. Mr. President, we have a special and strong interest in strengthening and expanding our bilateral relations with your friendly country, and we wish to elevate them to a higher level. We are constantly seeking new opportunities for cooperation that will benefit both sides and contribute to sustainable development.
President bin Zayed also mentioned UAE's readiness to provide all possible support for the establishment of peace and security in the Caucasus region. The meeting was followed by a ceremony to exchange documents signed between the Republic of Azerbaijan and the United Arab Emirates.
The European Commission is weighing sanctions against Georgia's leadership and may suspend the country's visa-free travel arrangement with the bloc. EU spokesperson Anita Hipper told reporters that Brussels had already reduced political engagement and halted financial aid to the Georgian government, while stepping up support for civil society. She added that measures under consideration include sanctions and the suspension of visa-free travel. Relations between the EU and Georgia have deteriorated since the bloc accused Tbilisi of backsliding on democratic principles.
Thank you. Stefan.
Tensions have resurfaced between Georgia and Ukraine after Tbilisi announced the detention of 2 Ukrainian citizens in connection with an explosives case. Georgia's Prime Minister Irakli Kopakidze has accused Ukraine's security services of involvement. Our Nini Nikolashvili has the details.
Georgia's Prime Minister Irakli Kobakhidze has made strong accusations against Ukraine's security services following the discovery of explosives allegedly smuggled into the country. Speaking to journalists, Kobakhidze said a person involved in the case had confirmed the explosives were imported on the instructions of Ukrainian special services, calling the incident very regrettable. He also linked the case to previous statements by Ukrainian officials who had expressed hopes of opening a second front in Georgia, but stressed that Tbilisi continues to maintain what he called a unilateral friendship regime with Ukraine in light of its ongoing war. The State Security Service of Georgia and the Ministry of Internal Affairs have confirmed that 2 Ukrainian citizens were detained in connection with the incident. According to the authorities, a Mercedes-Benz truck with Ukrainian license plates entered Georgia on September 10th through the Sarpi checkpoint, having traveled via Romania and Bulgaria. Upon inspection, officials say that they discovered 2.4 kilograms of the explosive substance hexogen hidden in concealed compartments. The agency added that materials indicated the explosive's final destination was Tbilisi, specifically a residential building in the Avlabari district. The Ukrainian government has not yet issued a public response to the Georgian allegations, and international observers are watching the developments closely. Relations between Tbilisi and Kiev, traditionally friendly, have faced strains in recent years, particularly against the backdrop of Russia's full-scale invasion in Ukraine. It's Nini Nikolaishvili reporting from Tbilisi, A News.
More than 100 delegations from around 60 countries gathered in Kazakhstan for a major interfaith dialogue event. The meeting of religious and political leaders aims to address religion's role in peace building and uniting humanity. Fraser Kalimurzina has the details.
Today, the international community is struggling to restore peace. This statement was made by Abdul Rahman Al-Zaid, Deputy Secretary General of the World Islamic League, during a meeting with President Tokayev in Astana. Al-Zaid also addressed the Congress of Leaders of World and Traditional Religions, which opened today, calling on the international community to end conflicts and unite for peace. This is the 8th Congress, considered one of the world's key ideological forums. This year, around 100 delegations from 60 countries are taking part, including religious leaders, politicians and representatives of international organizations. Among the expected guests are Pope Leo XIV, Vatican Secretary of State Cardinal Pietro Parolin, and the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar Ahmad Al-Taib. They are joined by leaders from various religious communities around the world, including Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist and Protestant representatives from multiple countries. The organizers focus on the unifying potential of religions as a resource for finding global solutions. Key topics include the role of religions in preventing conflicts from the Middle East to Eastern Europe, ethical issues related to the development of artificial intelligence, combating youth radicalization and harmful content on social media, as well as overcoming digital inequality. At the end of the forum, a final declaration is expected to be adopted, along with the presentation of a multilateral action plan until 2033, a first in the history of the Congress. Against the backdrop of growing religious polarization, extremism and weakening international institutions, Kazakhstan is seen as a platform where over 130 ethnic groups and 18 religions coexist. President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev emphasized that preserving interreligious and intercultural harmony remains a priority for both domestic and foreign policy, as evidenced by the Congress being held for 22 years. Kazakhstan has taken part in peace building through initiatives like the Astana process on Syria, the C5+1 format, its time on the UN Secretary Council, and efforts to stop the spread of weapons of mass destruction. In line with this role, the 8th Congress is seen not just as a religious event, but as a platform to strengthen interreligious cooperation, where Kazakhstan continues to act as a mediator, promoting dialogue instead of pressure. From Almaty, Kazakhstan, Fariza Kalimurdina, A News.
The Champions League is back and it's already delivering high drama. Benfica looked set for a strong start after taking an early lead, but Karabakh stunned the Portuguese giants with a thrilling 3-2 comeback victory. It's a result that has shaken up the group dynamics and put the Azerbaijani champions firmly on the map. Now we're joined by our very own Nick Summerby live from Doha. Nick, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
Now, how significant is this result for Karabakh, both in terms of confidence and their standing in the group?
Oh, it's fantastic for what is a big week in Azerbaijan as well with the Formula One. What a result! Benfica finished in the last 16 last season, and huge football club. Nobody gave them a chance at all, and they went 2 goals behind. We thought it was going to be business as usual with Benfica, but this Karabakh showed what they are made of. Level it off to make it 2-2, Duran hit 2-2 just before half-time. And then you would think, well, that's okay. You know, it would be like making history if we draw. But they went that one step further. And what a night it was. Kashchuk's with the winner to make it 3-2. And it gives confidence to the Azerbaijan League, to the players. I mean, they've got a really exciting games ahead as well. They've got the likes of Napoli, Chelsea, who are coming to play over there, and obviously Ajax and Liverpool at Anfield. So what a great start it is. There's a long way to go. Nobody's getting carried away, but it's a real thumbs up as well. And a huge performance, shown a lot of guts and has shown a lot of real pride from being 2 goals behind to end up going to win the game 3-2. So that was it a shock? Yes, it was a shock, but all of a sudden now we're looking at Azerbaijan and we're looking at the players and we're looking at the league.
And Benfica started strong, Nick, but couldn't hold on. What went wrong for them after taking the lead?
Well, it always happens in football. As a player, I used to be many years ago. When you do get a 2-goal lead, you automatically relax. I don't care what anybody says. You think, well, we won the game. The opposition, I don't think they're going to do very much. And you tend to just relax a little bit. And you think, well, we'll see the game out. We'll probably get another goal. And then all of a sudden, when the opposition gets a goal, you find yourself clambering to get back into the game. And we've seen it a lot of times. And we always say it's not very comfortable 2-0. This is where you've got to be alive. Benfica weren't. They took the foot off the gas. And then all of a sudden, when you make it 2-1, then all of a sudden you start fearing and the momentum starts to build, and that's what it did. But to make it to 2-2 at half-time, I mean, that's a lot of goals. That's a lot of quality football just in the first half. And it was interesting how the 2 teams would react. Could Benfica come out and really show their quality? Well, they couldn't at all. It went the opposite way. Karabakh came out. They were patient. They were organised. And then when that opportunity came, they took it. And it's not easy in Lisbon. It's a huge stadium, big, I think it's 50,000 crowd there as well. So they had to quieten the crowd down and work as a team, and they did that. And it's a really big statement.
Okay. And looking ahead, how could this result shape the rest of the group stage for both teams?
Well, obviously now we have it's a different format. So as I said, there's a long way to go and a lot of big teams. It will do a lot of confidence. That will go into the league because the league form, they played 3 games and only won 1. So you will see a big boost of confidence with that. And they will believe. They will feel, well, hang on a minute. I mean, this is Benfica, finished in the last 16. What can we do now? And you look at the likes of Napoli, they won the league last year. They've got to go and play them. So it's another huge challenge. Chelsea as well. We saw them the World Club Cup champions. They're winning trophies at the moment, so that's another test for them. They come to Baku, that's going to be really exciting, and obviously Ajax and then Liverpool, as I said before, at Anfield. So take the confidence, but keep your feet on the ground as well, and it's a great start for them. You can only take it game by game, and I hate saying game by game, but great start, by the way. And football is confidence, life is confidence, and that's what they've got at the moment. They're full of it.
Okay, and lastly, Nick, were there any other surprising results beside Karabakh's victory over Benfica in the opening round of the Champions League?
There wasn't really. It was the main results were obviously the likes of Arsenal winning. Juventus was an interesting game, 4-4 with Dortmund. I'm just taking the big names out. Real Madrid They won 2-1. Mbappe with 2. I mean, Mbappe he got criticised a lot because of his move to Real Madrid last season. Still scored over 30 goals. He scored in every game this season, so he is really on fire. Spurs as well, under Thomas Frank. You can see the improvement. They managed to beat Villarreal 1-0. So it's, as I said, it's early. There's a lot to play in this new format. I like the new format. If you'd have asked me last year when it first came about, I thought, no, we start seeing exciting games right from the start. And then all of a sudden, what they play about 5 or 6 games, then all of a sudden we get into the business part of it. But it's the usual suspects with the usual results at the moment. But we will see a lot of surprises because there's a lot of football to play until we get to the last 16, the quarters, and we move on from there.
Okay, Nick, thank you so much. Have a lovely morning.
Thank you.
And that's the news update from us in Baku this morning. Stay tuned to A News for more.